Welcome to Doing It My Way by Beata Matras, a podcast about project and product management, communication, brand, and IT. All these topics will definitely improve and have a positive impact on your career. So join me today, subscribe, and expect a new episode every week. Thank you. Today I'm thrilled to speak with Alejandra Hernandez Segura, the Associate Director of Discovery Data Engineering at Genmap. Based in Utrecht, Netherlands, Alejandra leads a team dedicated to pioneering data engineering solutions that advance cancer treatments. With a huge background in bioinformatics, data engineering, and project management, Alejandra's work not only contributes to scientific innovation, but also empowers women in tech through her involvement in communities like R-Ladies Utrecht. Alejandra, thank you for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation, and I'm very happy to be here.
So I will move to the first question about your career. So Alejandra, your career has spanned several impressive roles in data science and engineering. Can you start by telling us about your journey and what are some of the key moments or achievements that have shaped your professional path?
I think I studied biology, and I have to say that I always felt a bit that I didn't fit in there. I like biology, but I didn't like the same subjects than my classmates. I always liked the more mathematical subjects, and but I still continued to a master's in the same area until I think one key moment is when I met like one of my the people that I admire the most as a scientist. He was my professor in one of my internships, and I asked him for advice on how to improve my career. And he told me, well, the future of biology is in bioinformatics. So I went and did my second internship in bioinformatics. I learned how to code by myself, mostly in R, which is a language typical for scientists, and I fell in love with it. Then I did a PhD, and I combined my biology with the bioinformatics. So I became a bit better at data analysis. But I think the life-changing moment was when I met R-Ladies. So like I was already in my first job, but then I was not very good at it. So I could code, but I was not very good at it. And meeting R-Ladies made me realize that there was like a whole community of people who were very friendly, who were women, which I like among programmers, you don't see that very often, more and more luckily, but I didn't know many women who could program. So this was amazing to find other people like me and realize that we struggle with the same things. So of course, the technical side of things is always a challenge, but also by not having role models, sometimes it makes you doubt yourself even more. So this was perfect. I loved it. And actually, very soon, I think after one or two meetings, I decided to become an organizer. And I have done it ever since. And then after that, I have to say, well, I kept working, I changed jobs, and other key moments have been like when somebody gives me the opportunity to maybe prove myself in a more difficult role, or to do a bit of project management. I am lucky that I like also the very social aspect of the work. So that's why for me it's beautiful to lead a team. And then I'm not only interested about the technical part, but then I love having a team. I love talking to people. And I think meeting people who are willing to give me an opportunity has been life changing as well.
I think people that we meet on our way are playing a huge role actually in our career development and in general, like in life, because when someone believes in you and gives you an opportunity, you like have wings, like start to have wings, or like start to spread it. So I really enjoyed listening to your experiencing and how yeah, actually people that you found also support with, like R-Ladies, and the ones that gave you the chance, have helped you to grow. And about your role and like data engineering in specific, your work or your current role is pivotal in advancing innovative cancer treatments. And can you share how data teams' efforts, data engineering contributes to, for example, medical advancements?
Yeah, well, that's something I think perfect. Of course, I work for Genmab, so Genmab makes treatments for patients with cancer and other diseases. Uh, so everyone that works in Genmab contributes in a way. I have to say my team contributes especially to the generation of new treatments because we are very scientific. So everyone in my team has a biology background or has worked in pharma or something like that. So we are not normal data engineers. We all have an edge of having this biology knowledge. And many of my other colleagues, like they work also for the commercial part or for the clinical part, but our work is very related to analyzing research data. So every potential new treatment that Genmab develops passes, and not even passes, was created in the department that I work for. So that is beautiful. I see all kinds of new ideas and people experimenting, and I still attend tons of scientific talks. I understand them less and less now, but it's just like it's just like so fulfilling to see that your work, so the data that I am moving from one place to the other, the databases that I am moving, that I'm creating, are like literally creating new treatments for patients. So that's really one of the most fulfilling things that I have found in my role and in general in working for a company that has a nice social impact.
Yeah, that's actually at some point of your career you realize how much it matters when you have a role and you're working in a company that is making a better change in the world, or is making the change in the world that you want to be a part of. So that's beautiful what you just said, and that's even like me thinking about it, feel inspired and fulfilled. And can you explain some of the data engineering techniques and tools that you're using to make an impact?
Yeah, sure. So I think like any data engineer nowadays is has to work with the cloud computing. Either they work in AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, and within the cloud computing, normally every provider has specific services for batch processing or streaming data or like just all kinds of auxiliary services to do our job. But basically, what we mostly do is to try to bring data from different sources into into a format and into places where the data scientists or the biologists can access them easier and use it to take decisions. And I think there are also, of course, we are into multiple programming languages. Probably Python is the main one that we use. Um, and I have to say that depending on the company that you work for, how big it is, how strong the IT team is, or how just the roles and responsibilities are divided, it may be that you need other type of knowledge as well. And I have to say that in my role, I also need to know a lot about data architecture, especially the modern times with, for instance, concepts like data lakes, data lakehouse, or data mesh. So we have to deal with these type of concepts. We also have a lot of very specific continuous integration, continuous development processes, and well, in general, like a kind of architecture in general is something that we deal a lot with, and of course, in my particular role, a lot of project management and people skills, like how to give feedback, how to talk to people, and that is something that I have a lot to grow on, but that interests me a lot. I think the technical part is difficult, but dealing with people can be even more challenging. Yeah, and I wouldn't, even if you are not a manager at the moment, I would say that it is always important to cultivate some of these skills, especially communication, for instance. It's something that it doesn't matter what role you have. So whatever you created, it's only valuable if you are able to explain it to other person, especially to your users, so that user can take advantage of it. I would really recommend that, even though it sometimes gets put aside, this type of soft skills are key for our jobs as well, even as technical people.
Yeah, yeah. Although these skills are very often, not appreciated that much. I mean, there is the stereotypes, of course, and I don't want to say like it happens everywhere, but there's a tendency from engineers to avoid business collaboration or business communication because it's like too confusing or something like that. But from my experience, there is also like a kind of mechanisms behind it, behind the communication, and for example, being able to differentiate the low context cultures from the high context cultures, and how different words, if told by different people, can mean something different, and it's almost like a riddle sometimes. But yeah, this is also, I think, a skill and needs practice. Yeah. So happy that you're, mentioning that, because that's a huge part of project and product management, to be honest. Coming back to data engineering, are there any emerging trends in data engineering that you think our listeners should keep an eye on?
Yeah, I think, specifically about data engineering, I would say the modern data architecture. So what I mentioned before, like data lakes, data lake houses, data mesh is something that it's very it's trending topic in my company, in my field at least. But other than that, I think no one can deny that AI is changing the way we work. So for sure, we are like, first, because we work so close with data scientists and machine learning engineers. So we have to be aware of that, and we have to, we have a supporting role in sometimes deploying pipelines for machine learning or AI. But also within our work, we are trying to take advantage of the large language models, for instance, for doing some of our tasks. And I think, yeah, it's really a moment in which, anyone should start trying it.
AI is definitely changing a lot of domains. I think the whole business is actually changing. Our whole, like, even
Definitely.
private lives are impacted by AI and its development. Um, and changing the topic slightly, because I wanted to move to our experience of Top Women Tech Summit in Brussels, because we actually met there. You were a speaker, one of the keynote speakers, and you were talking a lot about the imposter syndrome. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience because, like a lot of women that were speaking there were on really higher positions, including you. And you said, like, openly that you have imposter syndrome. What is like kind of challenging for me to also understand is like a different um, levels of how we are experiencing that. So I don't know if you had like an experience in the beginning that the imposter syndrome was just huge and you couldn't like overcome it, but then you found some strategies to overcome it. And yeah, how was your story with imposter syndrome, basically?
Yeah, so I think I have had it basically always. Um, but I think my strategy is exactly what I did at that conference. I talk about it. I have also this tendency that what I am when I am nervous, I tend to, speak my mind and say the first thing that crosses my mind, and that sometimes means that I get personal too fast, let's say. So whenever I am feeling insecure about something, I often say it. And at the beginning, I would be like torturing myself. Why did I say that? But actually, really, the big majority of times, people are very, very kind. And often, if not at that moment, in another, they look for a different moment to open up with me and say, "Hey, I also struggle like this," or "You can count on me," or "I think you are doing it great," or maybe if I can do something to help. So most of the times, I realize, like, by being honest, it unloads something from me. And also, people express these insecurities in different ways. So if I don't say it, maybe I may be doing something that the other person can misinterpret. So maybe I'm being defensive because really what I am nervous that they discover that I'm not that good or something like that. But if I'm open about it, then the other person sees my behaviors in a different way. And I also feel more relaxed, like, okay, it's out there. Now I can just move on and be myself. So that's why I love talking about it. Um, but even more because I know that if other people see that a person can have imposter syndrome and still move on and still do like a difficult career change, like I did from biology to data engineering, and still manage to do things, then I would have liked to see that somebody would tell me, look, I also have these feelings and still I just dared and did it. So that's what the message that I was trying to bring there. So I have it, and that's okay. And you also saw some other speakers and later said, like, yeah, that's part of us. We have it. We just have to keep like fighting for our dreams, even though we have this little voice in our heads saying maybe you cannot do it. I'm like, yeah, maybe I can't, but I'm going to try anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I really like that approach. Because very often, we are taught by public speaking coaches or like, I think it's basically like slowly, not in a trend, but I remember there were like advices like, do not share that you are stressed, do not share that you are, but it actually brings authenticity and like you are there as a human, not as a like role model who is just flawless, yeah, or struggle. And yeah, I think it's good to share it with others because it actually, yeah, as you said, can make people fight for their dreams and fight with their struggles and overcome them just by being honest and say sometimes, look, I'm not the perfect one. I also struggle. Yeah. Um, and that moves us, I think, to the next question. Because you're working in a kind of like male field, I would say. And what biases, or have you encountered any biases? What were these, and how have you addressed them?
Yeah. So yeah, definitely, I have had many biases for being a woman, and I think I can think of two specific situations in which something like this happened. So one was like a few years ago, and I was in a meeting with a lot of CEOs from different startups and different companies, and I was there as one of the experts. And the most technical person in the room. And I was there together with another colleague who was a business developer, and he was, I think, in the past he had been a biologist, but he was not technical. And the CEOs, the other important men, were asking. They were all men, by the way. They were asking questions about specific analysis we wanted to do, and they were coming to him directly. So, uh, can you tell us, sir, like in your opinion as an expert, what should we do, this and that? And of course, like he could answer very vaguely, but he didn't know the technical part, so I would have to complete his answers. And this happened like 3 or 4 times. And every time I had to talk after him and complete his answers. And still, the people were still asking him directly the question instead of me. But I just I just stayed there and kept in my role. Of course, I was feeling uncomfortable, but I think I was like, the best I can do now is just to show my knowledge and show at the end that they can see for themselves who is the technical person here. And after that meeting, the meeting ended, and I encountered some of the same people in a few other meetings. And then from then on, they referred to me when they were asking technical questions. I want to believe that maybe I changed a bit their minds, in the sense that I don't think they do it out of malice. It's just that they probably have never seen a woman in this type of technical role. So maybe now I open their eyes that it's not necessary that the man in the room is the most technical person. It could also be that it's a woman, and then at least they can have the doubt, like, okay, who needs to answer this question? That would be for me more than enough. And the second situation was more recent, in which I was talking to a man who is a manager, has almost the same position than me and the same age, more or less. So, and in our first meeting, he starts trying to explain to me how I should be doing my work, how I should be a manager. And he's not my manager. He's not like, we are not friends. And to be honest, because he's also a relatively new manager, I also wouldn't tell that he's very experienced to actually that's somebody that I was like, oh, that's so nice that I got this amazing advice from this person that has been working on this for 30 years. I don't think so. So I was a bit puzzled by what motivated him to give this unsolicited advice. But I just didn't react badly. So I just listened to him. I took what I could from his advice. And I also, instead of just getting caught up in his mansplaining or something like that, I just I was interested in getting to know how he thinks that a manager should behave, so that I could use it, whenever I have meetings with him. Then maybe I understand more where he's coming from and his style of management. Maybe that can help me, to have a better relationship with him, or get to agreements faster. So I just took what I could from that. From that interaction, and still afterwards, like whenever we were discussing the business, then I was quite firm in my decisions, and showing, thanks for your advice, but I'm confident enough in what I'm doing. So yeah.
Yeah, you basically learned a kind of his style of communication, but also got some valuable advices from him that could, use in collaboration with him. Um, yeah, I know. I mean, I know this kind of syndrome. But I like to think about it from also like this perspective, because in the past I was like nervous when someone was like explaining something to me, like mansplaining, as you mentioned. But then I realized, like, look, he's giving me advices of how to actually operate with him and other male colleagues. Let's use it this way. I mean, yeah, I can learn
Exactly.
something. Yeah, I can learn something new. I can then, make my work just easier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I don't have to follow, but I can just take it for myself and keep it when I need it. So yeah, that's something new you can learn. But what advice would you give to women aspiring to reach senior positions in tech and leadership based on your experience?
Um, well, I have to say that there are many things that are difficult in getting into business or getting into a technical field or any male-dominated like environment. But I also like to keep in mind that things have improved a lot, and that every little step we take, every one of us that gets, one step higher, you get to the senior position, and you don't need to get further if you don't want to, if you don't have that ambition, but you already help the community, because that means like there are more women that can see a role model. Maybe you don't know it, but you are somebody else's role model. Um, and I have to say, like, yeah, we still have a lot to work on as a society. Uh, but I want to remind women that for every bad experience we have, there are hundreds of men, of women, or something that are actually supportive, or that they just don't even see. Like, oh, you are a man or a woman. You are just a capable person, and I think I don't want to get caught up always in the bad part. Of course, I notice, and I think we have to notice and call them out and try to change it. But I try to remind myself very often, all these other times in which something good happens, all these nice people that I meet on the way, all the actually my bosses have always been men, and they all gave me a chance to get to a higher level or something like that. So then, yeah, then there are still like I think more good people than bad people, and that encourages me to keep going. And also, if you feel like this is too much and that you don't want to do it, well, first you can try to look for a different job, a different environment. Maybe it's too much because that environment is not the correct one for you, not doesn't let you grow. But it could also be that you don't need to achieve, become the CEO of a company. That's okay. If you think you always want to be an individual contributor, that's also fine. And as I said, like, every little step we take, every decision that makes us, being in a difficult field, in business, in technical fields, it doesn't matter which level, you are already contributing to making the future easier for other women.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I really admire that you're also doing that, because getting there, being the role model, is a challenging path. Yeah, it has a lot of ups and downs, and you're always also like you're always there. People observe you, and that can be also like kind of intimidating and difficult. I mean, depends on the personality, probably. Um, and in that high demanding role that you're making, achieving work life balance can be a struggle. How do you manage your professional responsibilities and personal life?
Yeah, I have to say this is something I still struggle with. Uh, so especially since COVID, when you start working from home and there is no division of places where you work and where you have fun. But something that I try to do is like to not think of my personal life as a second thing, the second priority, and I do it with something very clearly. So I know myself. I know I have a hard time stopping like a task that I am doing if I'm in the middle. So then I put some of my nice activities in the morning. So the first thing I do when I wake up is I read the news. Sometimes I'm in social media. I go running or to the gym, and in that way I I make sure that every day I get something nice done. And that's the first thing, because it's like my first checklist. So I cannot finish the day without having done something nice. And to make sure that that happened, first thing in the morning. And then second, I go to work. I have tons of alarms and stuff, so I stop working. And I love, actually lately I am liking more and more going back to the office, uh, because even though maybe I don't always concentrate as easy, but then when you start seeing everyone leaving the office, and it's like, oh, it's a reminder that it's also time for you to leave, or to at least start wrapping up. Um, but I also love making plans with my friends, with my husband, or with colleagues even. But if you have a plan, then it's more likely that you will be like, you will have to stop, because you cannot just leave someone waiting. And so I try to take all kinds of, making sure that I plan also my social interactions, so that I don't leave them behind, and I make sure that they are priority.
Yeah, and it also gives you a kind of this part of I have a deadline. I mean, I have to complete the task, so it also helps with procrastinating. I think because you know that you want to meet that friend, so before meeting that friend, you have to do this. Okay, done. I can feel like I've done it and go.
Oh, definitely. And I actually have to say that I forgot, like, also that in the morning I also make a list of stuff I have to do, and I try to stick to it. And of course I can add urgent things, but most of the times now I'm like, okay, if another thing came up and it's not that urgent, then I write it in my to-do list for tomorrow. So like, it's okay to not everything that pops up into your email has to be solved right away. And also, I am learning more and more to delegate or to ask for help. And that is something that also helps you a lot with work-life balance. Because if you know you have uh, uh, like good people in your team, then it means, like, okay, it releases a bit of the tension on me, and then I know I have all this amazing team that I know when I go on holidays, nothing happens. The company keeps going, and actually everything goes well. We got trained together, so why shouldn't I trust them? And that is really like something really nice. And then my levels of stress got way less when I realized like how amazing my team is.
Yeah, and to trust them and lean on them. That's very important to have people and team like that that you can trust. Yeah, and good that you actually mentioned the team and the collaboration, because you are the main organizers of R-Ladies Utrecht. What role do mentorship and community support play in overcoming professional and personal challenges?
Well, I think for me, it has been everything, because not only is nice to have a community that you can learn with. I go to many meetups because I want to learn a specific skill, or just to get to hear about how other people use it. But I have to say, I'm an organizing of our ladies, and I don't code in R. Like, in the last years, I really don't touch R, and it doesn't matter like, now it's not only about that technical skill. It's about like realizing how that everyone has the struggles, like, with certain techniques, or like, actually, in communities like our ladies, we talk a lot about imposter syndrome, or about our struggles of not having enough role models, and just meeting other people that are like you, that are women. I also met, even though I am in the Netherlands, I met actually quite some Latin American women who are either in their own countries, or expats like me. And it was the first time I met um, a Latin American female programmer. And that's amazing. I thought I was the only one in the world. Well, of course, I knew I was not, but then it's like I just cannot see them. And then going to this community like allowed me to meet them. That's amazing. And also, if you like are shy, or there's not an Our Ladies community in your region, well, like, I usually also try to find a person in my organization that I can trust. And as I said, like, sometimes you cannot find, the person that has everything that looks exactly like you. But then sometimes it doesn't need to be one person, but you can, I can go for advice about a specific thing to this person, and for this other thing to this other person. Um, and yeah, I think most people are willing to help, because first, explaining a problem, so mentoring someone also is rewarding for the person who is giving the advice, uh, just because of networking, because it lets you reflect on actually what you have learned in your path until now. Sometimes it's a compliment, but whatever reason the person has, like, very few times you encounter that someone doesn't want to help you. So I would say, like, that if anyone can take the opportunity of having some mentors, I would do it. And the community for me has been a way to get kind of tons of mentors, and tons of people that I can rely on and just discuss with, and with whom I can be very vulnerable, and I know for sure they won't judge me. So I love the R-Ladies community because of that.
Yeah, that's very important, especially this. You mentioned judgment, and I'm wondering what's your actually experience with that, because very often our biggest judges are we by
Yeah,
ourselves. I mean, we tend to judge ourselves really harshly, and it's not the other people. It's actually, you know,
definitely. Yeah, actually, we tend to judge ourselves, like, in a way. So I read this book the other day, and it made me think a lot. Like, it was saying something, like, all those ideas that you put in your mind, like your insecurities, you are not good enough, maybe you don't look good, you are, or you are fat, or you are whatever. All these things, most people wouldn't dare to tell them to anyone, because it's hurtful, and it's usually not true, and you would normally think of the other person, like, yeah, I'm not even looking at, like, when somebody tells you, like, oh, I'm getting old, and often you're like I don't even see you, like, I don't even judge you because of that. I was thinking about, how amazing your hair looks, or whatever other thing. So that's really, then you really realize, like, um, how like cruel we can be with ourselves. Actually, I was not long ago in giving a talk, and I met this woman. She was amazing. I was sitting next to her, and I was thinking, like, oh, I confident and so charming, and she had a way higher role than me, and I was like, super amazed. She was also talking, with other people. It happened to be that she was Spanish, and later we were having a conversation, and she asked me, "Can you tell me honestly, how was my English?" And I was like, what? I mean, I didn't even worry about your English. I don't even know how you spoke English. Was just thinking, like, oh, she's so radiant, she's so amazing. I wish I get to be like her one day. And she was worried about her English. For me, it was like, really telling, like, how we tend to focus on those parts that we consider of ourselves that are a defect, or whatever, and many other people, we just don't see it.
yeah, they don't see it, and once you realize that, it's like, oh my god! So I was like so focused on that one particular thing that was like stopping me from doing something important for me, and you realize, like, well, people don't care. I mean, don't care about that thing, so nothing stops you except your head.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And also, in my case, not asking for perfection all the time was also very, like, relieving. So I was a person, like, I had always good grades in school, so I always felt like, I have to be good at everything. Now I'm a manager. It means that I know about many things, but I'm not the best at absolutely anything, and that's okay. Like, that's why I have a beautiful team, and then that's why, like, I have the most amazing person at web development, and the most amazing person at coding, the most amazing person in databases, and then that's perfect, and we together make a good team. So that's okay. Then it's so nice to say I don't have to be perfect. And actually, many of the things that I consider awkward about me or something are the things I get compliments for because they make me authentic, as you said, or unique. And yeah, then it's less load on yourself to not have to be perfect.
But I can hear like a lot of self-awareness and also like this growth mindset that you're referring to. Like, was there any pivotal moment that made you like change your thinking, or was it like gradual with, getting more experience, meeting more people? Or do you see like any pivotal factors that impacted your mindset basically?
I think it was not from one day to the other, not like I cannot point to a specific moment, but yeah, to specific periods. And I have to say that I don't know how it is for other people who did a PhD, but personally, that was a very hard moment in my life because I was used to being good at school, and then suddenly you are doing a PhD with many people who are as smart and often smarter than you, and they were better at you in many other subjects. And then I was a bit lost. I was like, who am I if I'm not the one that is good at school anymore? Who am I? And I think that was a pivotal moment, but like in a negative way. And but then after that, when I started working, and then I realized that I was being appreciated not because I was the best one at doing something in particular, but for instance, you mentioned it, like engineers are not often known for being so social. And yeah, it's not that I'm the a party animal or anything like that. I'm still quite introverted, but I like speaking. I like contact with people. I in general like thinking about people's needs, and that was the thing that people were appreciating the most when I got promoted. So I often got told I got promoted because I tend to do these extra things, and maybe there was less load on my technical part, which was okay because I tried to invest a lot of time on it. But at the end, probably the thing that was more that made a difference in my career were things that I already had and I had not appreciated. So that was like, oh, it's okay that in the PhD I was not the smartest woman in the room every time. And it's okay if today I'm not the smartest woman in the room every time. That's fine. And but maybe there's another characteristic that I have different than others, and that's what makes me special, and not the good grades that I thought were defining me.
Yeah, yeah. It's not about the kind of external factors, but more about getting closer to your talents, to your strengths, building on that, and being authentic with all of that. Because I think what actually makes some people successful is that they can make other people's seen and heard and valued, and people just feel comfortable and in peace with their company. And that's because you want to work with people that you feel valued with, that you feel respected, that you know that you can lean on, as you mentioned. And sometimes yeah, being the smartest in the room is actually, well, it's cool. I mean, people are admiring you, but sometimes they are also running away from you because you're just too hard to handle, I would say.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not what they need. Like, and that's yeah, that's okay. Then that also makes you realize, like, my skills are valuable, and maybe for me it is the social part, especially as being for being an engineer. But maybe for you is something different, and then you just haven't realized it. And just your career, the age, the time has taught me that. And then I have been a bit less strict with myself and saying, it's fine if I don't know all the details of programming. I have other talents, and that's fine. And even if I don't have many, I'm doing my best, and that's all fine.
Yeah, it is. It is. It just needs, yeah, some time, I think, to understand it, and also some self-reflection and confidence that we are good as we are. And reflecting on our conversation, what is one key takeaway that you hope our listeners will remember?
Uh, I think well, I want to reiterate that even though you are scared of something, you are having insecurities. Um, I would say that you just have to go and try. Um, I also want to remind people that there are, for every bad experience, there are many good ones, and that also that if you feel like anyway that is getting too difficult, it's okay to quit a job or just decide to move careers or yeah, that's fine. You already got to a certain position. You already set a precedent for women who can get to that role, and that's okay. It's okay to move on and to choose yourself first. That's also part of the maturity of yeah, getting to know yourself and be truthful to like who you are, and this can also make you a role model. Actually, it's also nice to meet people who dare to take to say no to a bad situation and then start in a different place. So remember that not always you don't have to keep up with everything.
Yeah, like part of, I think, being mature is to know when to give up on something and let go.
Definitely. Yeah.
And looking ahead, what you're the most excited about in your ongoing projects or your personal life?
Yeah, I think personally, I am I am going to Mexico, to my home country, in a few months. I haven't been there for a while, and I am going to meet some friends that I haven't seen like in around 10 years. They will come from Colombia to meet me, so I'm very excited about that. But in the professional part, I am having a new function. So I was already a manager for some time, but now I'm really almost not doing hands-on work. It's a different challenge, and I am enjoying it so far. And I am really looking forward, to learn about better techniques on how to talk to people, how to organize stuff, how to be in more strategic meetings, as they call them, and see if it is really something for me that I can do full time. So previously I was doing it like a part time, every time more and more. But yeah, I'm really happy to try this new phase and learn from that and learn from people, which is I think what I'm seeing the most in this moment of my career. I really have to learn a lot about people.
Yeah, it's a biggest challenge, but it's also like exciting. The more you get into
Mhm.
the topics of people and psychology, because it's all interconnected. It also makes you, I think, more self-aware. And once you like, you're already like super self-aware, but once you like, go out with that to people, you become like even more and more and more self-aware, because some situations are and some people are basically like mirror to you. And you realize, yeah, um, yeah. Let's not like dive into that topic because I could speak for a long time, but today it's more about you than me. So the final question: where the listeners can find you online, and yeah, and where they can connect with you if they want to work with you or maybe learn more about you and your work and your contribution.
Yeah. So I think I'm mostly on LinkedIn as Alejandra Hernandez Segura. And I am also on Mastodon, so I am not on Twitter or X or something like that, but on this more niche. It's a type of Twitter, but and there I am with the handle like at Ale Segura, and yeah, you can find me there.
Okay, thank you, Alejandra, for our conversation, and I'll put the links to your LinkedIn and Mastodon in the podcast description. And I really enjoyed this talk. Really, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks to you for the invitation. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining me on another episode of Doing It My Way by Beata Matras. If you enjoyed this episode, please do not forget to subscribe. Remember, this podcast is a dynamic journey and your feedback is very welcomed. Connect with me on social media. I would like to hear your thoughts, questions, and topic suggestions. And stay tuned for upcoming episodes. And until next time, keep doing it your way.